Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. So today's video I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot the A-frame leak, which is something that's somewhat common in older Land Cruisers. It could be in the passenger or the driver floorboard. For me it's the passenger, and the way it manifests is that water will sort of pool into the carpet right in this area under this panel. I want to point out that this is different than, sometimes if you're a passenger in these cars, you can get little dribbles on your feet. That's condensation from the AC unit, and different than, obviously a leak. So sources of this leak could be, a faulty windshield seal, could be bad seals on the sunroof, could be a clogged sunroof drain. It could also be issues with these bolts in the roof rack at any point along this some weather stripping here. If these bolts are loose or have otherwise been removed or replaced, or you have an aftermarket roof rack, sometimes water can leak through those holes, come down the A-frame and pool in that area. Now, if you're noticing this is something you're going to want to address really quickly, because behind this panel here on the right, there's a lot of different electronics, a fuse board, and unfortunately when these leaks do happen, it often causes issues with the head unit. And I've had some issues, sort of like electrical gremlins. Nothing, sometimes some things will work. For example, the time and the temperature and all of these buttons will display sometimes, and other times they just don't turn on at all. My radio often will turn off while it's playing, just sort of randomly. So I'm going to try to fix the leak first, and then I'll come back to figuring out how to fix those electrical issues. But the first step for troubleshooting today is just going to be to remove this panel here. And if you can see, it's a little dark there, but there's a little black knob that you just twist counterclockwise, and then the panel will pop right off. So that'll be the first step. All right, so here's what the electronics on the passenger side look like, and just immediately you can see you really don't want water here. Now what this leak looks like is, again, the water will come and travel down this A-frame. So if you get into here, you can kind of stick your fingers in and feel the inside of this A-frame. That's where you'd expect water to travel down. So I'm kind of wrapping my fingers around and touching this metal surface here, and that's where we'd be expecting water to to travel down this way, come down here, and then pool sort of under the carpet. And mine happens to be dry right now because I've been parked in a parking garage for some time, but we're actually going to pour water onto different areas of the car, and we'll start from least likely to most likely. And we'll try to, after each pour of water, sort of reach in here and feel around and try to perceive whether any water has dripped down the surface. And if you really get your head down there, you can actually see the tube that is the sunroof water drain that travels down the A-frame and exits the bottom of the vehicle right down here. I'll see if I can get a shot of that. But so that's the area we're focused on. I'm going to show you sort of my strategy for, pouring water around, and we'll see what causes a leak. Okay, and actually there, that little black tube there, traveling vertically, is the sunroof drain. You can't see it too well, but it travels down into the bottom of the vehicle there. All right, so for this test I have a couple bottles of water, and you really don't need much. We're going to be pouring it in pretty strategic locations here. We're going to start from what I think is the least likely for me, because I haven't had my windshield replaced. If you have, this could be a high probability area for you, because Land Cruiser windshields are really tough to replace correctly. A lot of horror stories about those being done and leaks happening afterwards. But we're going to pour water along this seam up here and along this seam all the way down to the bottom. And after we do that, we're going to, like I showed you, go in, reach inside that panel and feel for any moisture that would have traveled down the inside of that A-frame. So we'll do this one first. Hopefully, it'll be dry, and then we'll move on to the next likely spot. or next least likely spot, which in my view would be these front bolts on my roof rack. So the reason I'm somewhat thinking that this could be a possibility is because obviously my cover has popped off. So there could be some water getting into these bolts, but I'll just pour water in this area, this area, this area, and go back under, check it again, and see if it's dry. If it's dry, then we know it's not the windshield or these bolts. Then I'll move on to pouring water sort of around this area, and then again in the back. And you'll want to make sure you're actually parked on an incline for these two, so that when you pour water, it will travel down the the lining of the roof into the A-frame and downwards. We'll see if that's dry. Next, with the sunroof closed, we'll pour water all around these seams. Check again if it's dry. Then we'll actually open the sunroof and pour water into the drains. So there's 4 drains on these things in every corner, and I'll show you what those look like if we get that far. So let me do some of these tests and let you know how it goes. All right, so I was able to pass each of those tests without water actually showing up on the carpet or in the A-frame, which indicates to me that the leak must be somewhere in my sunroof. So I've opened it up, and you can see there in the right corner, that little hole there is the sunroof drain, and that drain attaches to the hose that I showed you before. Sometimes that hose can come loose from the nozzle on the other side of this hole and cause a leak, but almost always it is just years of dirt and debris and leaves and things that have gotten in that hole and clogged it. Now, mine actually wasn't completely clogged. So when I poured water into this tray here, I could see it run down that hole just fine. And, I obviously after I poured water in there, I went down to the floorboard and felt around, and it was still dry, which really surprised me. I thought for sure that there was something wrong with the hose inside, but it was kind of really frustrating me. I really wasn't able to recreate the leak for a while until I noticed that this drain, once that hose got filled with water, it was sort of backed up. There might be a blockage towards the bottom of the drain, and when I poured more water in there than it could handle, maybe it drains at a very slow pace or something, this tray actually did back up with water and start overflowing, traveled down the A-frame, and I was able to recreate the leak. So I actually got some water in the floorboard down there. So that's my issue. I've got a blockage there. I'm gonna go ahead and clean both drains, and I'm pretty sure that there are drains in the back here. They might be sort of hidden away. I'll double check that for you guys, but I'm gonna get some tools together. I have some pipe cleaners, and I'll show you how I'm gonna go about clearing these debris. All right, so here's the equipment I have for this job. Obviously I have a pipe cleaner that I got off Amazon. This is a 6-foot line, and it should do pretty well to clean those drain hoses out. I've also seen people use compressors. You can blow compressed air into that drain hole and hopefully blow all the gunk out. Now the risk in that though is that if the hose is completely blocked up, you might blow compressed air into the hose and actually blow the hose off of the nozzle where it attaches to the sunroof drain. So if that happens, it's really a headache. You got to take the head liner apart and reattach that hose to the sunroof drain. So I'm gonna stick with the pipe cleaner approach. And I've also got this wire or hose camera. There's a little camera on the end there. This hooks up with your smartphone. I also got this on Amazon. So hopefully I'll be able to stick that down there, and we can get a look at what the blockage looks like before and after I clean it. All right, so I don't have audio on this pipe camera, so I'm doing a voiceover after the fact. But this was my first look into the passenger sunroof drain tube, and pretty quickly, actually, yeah, there it is. I found a pretty big blockage of just dirt and sand and whatever else. and I wasn't able to get past this. I did sort of push it along a little bit, but I can only assume that there's a lot more where that comes from later on in the tube. So you'll see in the next scene, I'm able to get the pipe cleaner down there and clear all this out. But this pipe camera made it pretty interesting just to be able to see what was going on and actually confirm that there's a pretty serious blockage going on. So, all right, here we go. Let's see if we can clean this thing. It's a little bit of a tight fit, actually. All right, so I got almost all of it in. I did have to use some scissors to trim the bristles to make it a little easier to push in and out, but definitely have felt some resistance towards the end, and I actually kinked the pipe cleaner, so I don't think I'm going to be able to push it any farther than that kink. But I guess at this point we can just sort of pull it out, and then pour some water down there and see if it flushed all the dirt out. Whoops. There we go. That's what it looks like. It's a little dirty. All right, so just to show you guys, this is where water actually runs out of the sunroof drain hose. It actually kind of drips through right here, through sort of these two folds of the body. If you want, you can actually pull this a rubber plug out and look in there with a flashlight while you're pouring water down the hose, and you'll see it dribbling down through this area. The hose itself actually stops somewhere up here, so you can't see it through this hose, but you can see the water coming out. And make sure there's not too much mud in this area that would actually prevent water from escaping the way it's supposed to. All right, so yeah, that drain hose is now clear. It's draining much faster than it was, and got everything put back together here and all buttoned up. So hopefully that holds. I'll let you guys know of any other updates, but at some point in the future, I'd love to troubleshoot some of these issues. Looks like everything's working now, but again, sometimes this won't display, sometimes these buttons don't work, my radio turns off periodically, and then also sometimes the numbers on this trip information screen just don't show up. Often my rear view camera doesn't turn on when I'm in reverse. I think all of these issues are probably related to power getting to the head unit. I might have blown not a fuse, but some sort of transistor or something that is responsible for regulating electricity to the head unit down here. That'd be my guess. But if anyone has any thoughts on that, please let me know. Drop them in the comments. Otherwise, I'll hope to do a video on fixing that at some point too. Thanks very much. All right, see you guys.